Hello, and welcome to Tea with a Druid, number 365. My name is Philip Carr-Gomm, and Tea with a Druid is brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. Lovely to be with you, lovely to see everybody arriving with messages from southern Spain, central Arizona, Penzance, in Cornwall, Berlin, Bolton, Indiana, Gananoque in Canada, British Columbia, Chichester, Lincolnshire, Essex, Cape Cod, Hertfordshire, New Hampshire, Costa Rica, hooray, Washington, Louisiana, Lausanne, Switzerland, Tintagel, Istanbul, Canada, Slough, Hull, Brazil, St. Louis, Clare, County Clare in Ireland, South Africa, hi, Birmingham, Denmark, Dartmoor. Lovely to see you. So everybody's gathering around, and it's good to be with you. And let's just take some time to settle. And we've got lots of birds singing. The windows are wide open here because it's been such a hot day, and so it's lovely to hear the bird song coming through the window here. And gradually allow yourself just to get comfy and just to shake off the troubles of the day. There's a phrase we do in some Druid ceremonies when we step into the circle where we say, we have left outside all disturbing thoughts. We've just let them go, and we're sitting here together in ceremony, in connection, in meditation together. So here's the invitation as you settle in. Just tune in and see where your awareness naturally goes. What part of the body does your awareness go to? And maybe even as you ask that question, it shifts in some way. And just ask yourself how you're feeling. What's the kind of predominant feeling tone that you have? And that you might express that as a sort of feeling that your body has. Like some people say they feel tired or they feel energized. You might experience it at the emotional level. People say they feel happy, sad, contented, peaceful, whatever it is. Or maybe you're going to answer that in a more intellectual way, like you're feeling concerned about or thinking of and so on. Just a bit tired, shoulders aching, frustrated, a bit warm, turquoise peace, honey, gratitude, ears hearing because of that gorgeous bird song, joy, feeling muggy, hot, exultant, purple, feeling relaxed and lazy after a day at the pool, how lovely, sticky, feeling in quicksand, tired and exhausted after an extremely hot weekend, solar plexus, relaxed, content, grateful, warm, a bit anxious, anxious for my son on a journey to India, heat heavy, restless and irritated, hurt and low, tired, burnt out from moving house in this heat, warm and sticky, calm, happy after a shelter weekend in a wood, sore back but happy, aching bones, sore shoulder, relaxed, celebratory, having finished the first draft of a novella, congratulations, feeling tired from the heat, I work outside, going to do a 30-day meditation next month, wow, feeling exhausted but content to be in good company, rejuvenated, floaty and tired, thankful for air conditioning, trying to get centered, restless and achy, privileged, my feet in the sun, hot, full, content, digging on this rose tea, feeling delighted to be hearing the bird song, tired from being out in the heat, feeling more head than heart, content, refreshed by Nuifre, the life force of Nuifre, from a trail walk along the Cascade Creek in the San Juan National Forest. Content, mourning Aunt Jenny, connected and sleepy, optimistic, having reconnected with my garden after visiting open gardens and being inspired. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so what I wanted to share with you today is just some thoughts that occurred to me, and I just wanted to share them with you, see what you thought. And of course, Tea with a Druid offers us the wonderful opportunity to take straw polls and to get a sounding. So what I'd like you to think about now is, like, how many years have you been reading self-improvement books? Like, if you not necessarily all the time, but just for how many years would you say you have read books in an attempt to improve yourself, to find happiness, to bring yourself, make yourself more integrated, joyful, developing yourself? And while you think about that and add up the numbers, and 60 years old, so 45 years old, too many. I used to be obsessed with them as a kid. So at least 10 to 15 years, 25 years. Psi, so 0, none, nearly 3 decades, too many, 25 plus, probably 50, at least 20. We're talking about years here. Since I was a kid, so it's 45 now, 35 years, 50 years since Be Here Now, 20 years, 2 years. I don't like self-help books. I can't stand self-help books. Oh gosh, it's going so fast. So 30, couple of decades, 25-ish years, lots of Krishnamurti. 7, but through work for new techniques to teach. 55 years, 50 years, as long as I can remember. I'm 65 years old. 25, 40 years, far too many. 30 or 40, 50 years, so not much anymore. 20, 40 some, 30 years, 40 years. This is fascinating. A dozen or so, over 20 years, 50 years, never, very occasional. So Ruth and the other person who said, no, it's like, you're really in the minority here. Most people are giving very lengthy periods of time, and over 30 years, 27 years from Jennifer, 10 years, 50 years. John is asking a trick question, which we won't answer. James, none, circa 50, 30. Okay, this is really clear that for a lot of people, there are many, many decades of reading self-improvement books. Now, here's what I does the Bardic grade count? If yes, 7 years. Now, that's exactly leads me to the point. So here's the point. So a lot of us have spent a lot of time reading books on how to improve ourselves. And that, I think, is a really good thing. You know, what a noble kind of endeavor, an attempt to make ourselves better people and to expand our consciousness, develop our capacities, sort out problems that we might have, optimize our psyches, and so on and so on. All sorts of very good reasons for doing it. And this is where, and there's a way in which the spiritual quest meets the self-improvement quest. They're kind of, in a way, two distinct agendas or worlds, and it's quite possible to live in one without the other. So it's quite possible to have spent your life, you know, dedicated to a religion or a spiritual quest without specifically engaging in work or books that are designed to improve yourself. It's also quite possible to be engaged in the self-improvement world and to take courses and go on workshops and do trainings and read books and so on, popular psychology books and so on, in an effort to improve yourself without going anywhere near the spiritual world or attempt to follow a spiritual path. But again, I would suggest that I would imagine, given the nature of Tea with a Druid, that we are dealing with, all of us here, the majority of us, if not all of us, are somehow there's an overlap there. So we're not everybody, of course, because some people say they haven't dived into self-improvement at all. So anyway, so the point I'm making is that these are two distinct realms of interest and all the rest of it, but that they overlap. And I think there's a tremendous kind of value in that overlap. See if you agree with this. I think by engaging in an interest in spirituality, by taking the spiritual quest, however you want to term it, you are able to hopefully avoid the trap of getting addicted to, that's too strong a word really, but of getting hung up on just trying to improve yourself continuously. And in fact, there's some really interesting studies that show that people who are overly self-preoccupied, people who spend too much time trying to pursue personal happiness, trying to pursue their own goals, actually are more likely to suffer from mental unwellness in some form or another, or to experience unhappy. It's called the happiness paradox in psychology. So that's a really interesting finding in itself, that those people who just doggedly pursue their own personal happiness and satisfaction can often get caught in the happiness trap and the happiness paradox and find that it constantly eludes them. There is perhaps the meaning behind, the Seven Sisters is the oldest story in the world. It's found on every continent of the planet. And I've been researching it a little bit for this book I've just done on the Long Man, because there's a Pleiades walk that we give an itinerary for in the book, just up here in Lewis. And the Pleiades is, as you know, that it's that cluster that if you look at it directly, you can't see it. It's almost as if you have to sort of pretend you're not interested in it and look away from it, and then it pops into view. Reminds me of the story of Ceridwen and Taliesin, where she's dedicated, she's focused on getting the Arwen for her child, but some other kid gets it. Guion Bach gets it instead. It's almost as if too much focus on what you want to achieve personally for yourself can actually hamper your achievement of it. So how do we resolve this question? Well, I think because Druidry is my kind of speciality, or the focus that I've made on my spiritual quest that I follow, the spiritual path that I followed, it seems to me that Druidry sets up 3 goals that we focus on, which are the 3 schools of Bard, Ovate, and Druid. And these correspond to 3 aspirations which go beyond the self. They include the self, so they include the self-improvement agenda, but they go beyond it to include the spiritual agenda. The bard, the creative self. I want to develop my creative self. I want to be creative. That's, if you like, self-improvement. How can I be more creative? How can I express my creativity? That can fall within the rubric of self-improvement. And there are many self-improvement books that cover personal creativity as a result. But in Druidry, the role of the bard is not only to develop yourself creatively in your own right, but also to be a channel for the force of divine creativity that flows through us, the grace of Arwen that can flow out, and be of value to others. So it's a gift we can give to the world. How can I give to the world? So, and likewise with the Ovate studies, on the one hand, it can be seen to be part of the personal quest, because you're seeking to deepen your connection with nature, you're attempting to communicate with the ancestors, to go beyond the surface flow of temporal events, to use divination for that, to travel in other realms of consciousness. So you can say, well, that's all, you're trying to improve yourself and develop yourself and so on. But the back of all that, there's the goal of the Ovate as the healer, the great shamanic quest to be of value in the world. So again, it moves from beyond the agenda of self-improvement to working in the world to be of help to others. Likewise, in the Druid grade, that 3rd great sort of school of teaching in Druidry, you have the Druid who seeks wisdom. And again, we seek wisdom for ourselves because we want the satisfaction and the understanding that comes with developing a kind of mature wisdom and so on. But behind that, there's also an agenda of being of help to others, to guide others, to be of value, to be helpful. And so, in summary, my feeling is that Druidry can help us in our goals for self-improvement without trapping us in the happiness paradox, without trapping us by it essentially being too limited to fulfilling the quest of the self and goals for the self. Instead, by having an impersonal service goal beyond the self, it helps us to achieve both those self-improvement goals and spiritual goals that go beyond the self, beyond the ego, if you like. Does that make sense? Does that kind of resonate with you? Self-help. Andrea says, self-help came between me and my closest relative. I watched him change into someone I can no longer be around. I stopped. I want deep connection. Can't be of help until I find connection. Yes, yes, yes. I suppose it makes a lot of sense. Very much so. Am I too late? Too late for the tea, or too late to make this shift into, I don't know. Yes, kind of. You can always watch the recording if you're saying, "Am I too late for tea?" But not too late, I think. I think we can always, however long we've, absolutely resonates, says Anna. That's great. That's nice to know. I always kind of like having your cake and eating it. Solutions to situations. It's, the title of this tea I put, time to get off the self-improvement treadmill. So I think what can happen, because it's so easy for us to become obsessive. It's like our capacity for focus and concentration is a really valuable capacity, but then it can easily become obsessive in some way. And sometimes that's good. I mean, like, if you're being creative, when I'm writing a book or something like that, I become, in a way, quite obsessive about the topic, and I bore the pants off everybody around me, because all I'm thinking about, all I'm researching, all I'm talking about is the particular topic for 6 months or something like that. So obsession, has its value, and whether one's been a little bit obsessed with self-improvement for 20 years or 50 years, doesn't matter. One doesn't have to beat oneself up about it. I think one can just say, oh yes, there's a kind of wider frame I can drop this into, so I can have my cake and eat it. I can keep working. I mean, I like self-improvement as a study. I've always been fascinated by it, and it's always interesting to find out ways in which you can develop your abilities, you can expand your consciousness, you can deepen your sense of self and all the rest of it. But by setting it in a wider frame of spirituality, then you can go beyond that. Simon Naylor, being of service is kind of wise selfishness. Let's say, as we need others so deeply that serving others, helping others to happiness, can only make our own environment happier. Yes, exactly. I mean, it's one of the kind of formulas. Like, if you want to be happy, forget about making yourself happy and focus on making other people happy. And as a consequence, you'll start to feel happy yourself. Jane is saying it doesn't always have to be termed as self-improvement. It's growing up and maturing. Yes, thank you. There's some lovely comments here. Too many of them to... Here in the US, trying to stay grounded and courageous despite much fear of what is going on now with the government, working on being aware without hypervigilance, which here in the West goes with high fire season 2, breathing. Yes, breathing deeply, trying to... This is a kind of sweep of events that seems so monumental. Yes, Andrea Sweetler saying, too many charlatans in the self-help environment. And of course, I guess you could say something like, in self-help, perhaps one of the ways we might go about improving ourselves, helping ourselves, is developing the capacity for discrimination, which is why I always think those, that genre of documentary that looks at self-help gurus and gurus in general who have been frauds or charlatans or have, been abusive and all, it's, that starting with that, well, it didn't start with that, but a standout documentary was Wild Country, the 3-part documentary on the Osho movement. Fantastically made documentary, and there's a whole bunch of them now about Bikram and so on and so on. I find them interesting to watch because they help one to develop discrimination. They help one to understand sort of psychological motivations and the psychopathology of religion, because that's another whole really interesting field, the psychopathology of the self-help movement, the psychopathology of the spiritual world, the psychopathology of religion is really interesting, because people behave really strangely and very unpleasantly often within these worlds. Okay, Philip Hall. There is a horrible nativist vibe to this. Remember, we were colonials who stole everybody's land all around the world. The land that we took was the land of other people's children. To lay exclusive claim to traditions and ways of being of our ancestors is the utmost hypocrisy coming from members of a former colonial power. Just trying to get the connection with what we've been talking about. I'm not sure who is laying exclusive claim to traditions. I'm certainly not, and Obod certainly doesn't. So I'm not sure where that finger of blame is pointing, Philip. But thank you for the comment. Okay. Right. Time for meditation, I think. Catherine, your comment has just appeared on the screen. I was my husband's caregiver for 20 years until he passed away. So I'm using self-help to find me again. So for me, I was suffering from too much of my identity in another. That's a really, thank you for saying that, Catherine, and thank my finger for having somehow touched your comment inadvertently, well, not inadvertently, but not consciously, but bringing that up, that there's a real value to this. So we've got to be really careful about being overly critical, because even a kind of basic self-improvement text can be really life-changing for somebody in a particular situation. So thank you for reminding us of that. And let's drop into meditation now. So you might like to, in being aware of the surroundings around you, screen in front of you, walls around you, ceiling above you, floor beneath you, fully present here and now. If it's okay, you might want to just gently close your eyes or soften your gaze, but you don't have to. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. But if you do, what happens is, as all that input stops flowing into your brain, there's the potential to drop into a deeper state. Slow, deep breath in, holding for a moment, and then breathing out fully and deeply. And as you do this, you might like to imagine that the walls, the ceiling, the floor gently fade away as you find yourself seated in a forest clearing. Beautiful trees around you, the scent of the trees, sound of the birds in the trees, the sense of the earth beneath you. And as you allow yourself to just let your weight be held by the earth, you tune into the energy of the earth. And you sense all the life that is in the earth beneath you. All the creatures, the mycelium, all the microbial activity, this tremendous aliveness. And you allow yourself to bathe to the degree that you wish in this sense of aliveness and earthy vitality, and you might sense it just gently flowing into your body and being. As you allow yourself to experience the gift of gravity that gives you a sense of weight and heaviness that sometimes we can kind of fight against, but sometimes it's nice to surrender to, just allowing oneself to just flop a bit on the earth and just feel that heavy, and then just feel the energy of the earth flowing into our beings. Connecting with the roots deep in the earth, and the earth energy flowing up the roots of the trees as they draw up the moisture, and as you start to become aware of that moisture flowing up the roots of the trees, you sense the trunks of the trees now, and your awareness is above the soil, sensing these majestic trees around our circle, these trees who are our allies and friends. We sense the sense of protection and of power, of uprightness, of steadfastness that they bring. And this connection to the sky as we follow in our awareness the trunks of the trees up into the branches, sensing the leaves above us, the branches and leaves, and then the sky above. And we breathe in the energy of the sky. And as you breathe in the energy of the sky into your being, notice how perhaps it feels different to the energy of the earth. And the energy of the sky brings vitality, vigor. And the energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of our beings. And we become aware now of this circle of being around us and of life, which are our fellow participants in the circle, seated around us. About 240 of us all seated, all having come from different parts of the planet to be seated here now in this circle. And gently your hands drift up and you take the hand of the person to either side of you. And as you do this, you feel perhaps this sense of solidarity, of connection, of community. You yourself as a unique being seated in this place, and yet also connected to this circle of beings. May the field of energy generated by this circle of conscious beings radiate outwards. May there be peace on earth. May there be healing. May there be a renewed connection with the sacred and with the planet and all of nature. And you squeeze the hand to either side of you, having sensed that connection, and allow your hands to drift down to touch the earth. And as your palms meet the earth, you feel that connection between your own self and the body of the planet. May this earth be preserved and protected. May the earth be blessed. May the land be blessed. And then your hands drift up to be over the heart now. May my life be blessed. May all lives be blessed. So you ask for a blessing on your lives, a blessing on the land, a blessing on all of life. And as you do this, you sense that blessing within your body and your being, and your awareness of the body grows stronger as your awareness of being in the sacred grove begins to fade. So that gradually you become more and more aware of being fully present here and now. And when you feel ready, you open your eyes. So, thank you so much, everybody. Tricia says, there are blackbirds singing with you from my garden. There's some such nice comments. I'm gonna look at these comments later, but I have to go into the hearth now, and do look at the comments. All the comments are so interesting. The blackbird, of course, is this animal. We begin the Druid Animal Oracle with the blackbird, because the blackbird often sings in the evening, kind of inviting us into this liminal space between worlds. So it's a very magical bird in that sense. So have a lovely week. Many, many blessings, much love, and see you again next week. Okay, bye then.